Heyo, folks. We're listening to Wind Waker, I think. That's. I can't completely convince myself that's from Wind Waker. Hey, Caspon. Yeah, it has been a long time. How's it going? Let's see here. Oh, gotta hide that. That's not true anymore. Yeah, hey, folks, I'm Cloaked Games. Today we're spinning the wheel of features to see what the wheel says I am to add to the game. Good, glad to hear. I'm doing all right myself. I'll show what I've been working on since it's now been about 3 weeks since I streamed, I believe, because I was busy. I even went to a Game Maker meetup, met some other Game Maker devs, but wasn't able to stream because of that. This Lavender Town? Wild. Just various Pokemon remixes. Here we go. Yeah, so I've been working on... Oh gosh, it's been a lot of things, but the boomerang is the biggest thing. And the previous stream, we added the prototype boomerang, and it has come a long way now. And there's all these boomerangs added. I wrote lore for all of them, and I implemented all their features. So I'll show off the two main features that the boomerangs have. Oops. B, that's what I wanted to do. So the stone boomerang is the only one with art so far. I started doing the art earlier this week. And it's the most basic. It's kind of the bottom tier boomerang. And yeah, it's got that kind of stone texture. And I narrowed down the spinning sprite so I can just rotate it in the code. So this is actually only 2 sprites are required to add a boomerang, which makes it even simpler than the axe and the hammer both, which have about 4 to 6. But the boomerang sprite is this version, the item form, and then one more rotated one for the 45-degree angle in the spinning animation. So it's 2 sprites to add a new boomerang type with art, which will be really good for adding lots. And it allows me to make lots of boomerangs that all look different. Obviously, these ones aren't done yet. So that's kind of good. Quite pleased with that. And then they all have different features. You can see this one, the stone boomerang, just does 2 damage. This one has this tag here, range. This one has hover, and those are the 2 alternative modes of the boomerang. So the range one just goes further. Wait, that's the stone. Here's the range one. The stone boomerang is used by default. That range might be too much because that's kind of insane, but so it just goes further. And then the hover one stays in place if you tap, and then you can tap again to send it back. It's very exciting. This is a feature from the last Librarian, and it led to lots of excellent puzzles. So I wanted to include it in Arcanaclysm to give me some tools to design puzzles with, some design space with that. And then if you have a boomerang that has both, like the starred boomerang here, you actually can do both. Heyo, Luna, how's it going? Welcome in, welcome in. This boomerang, you can tap to make it hover, just like the others. Maybe the boomerang should not chop flowers. Nah, they should. How else would you absolutely devastate a village's crops if you aren't able to use the boomerang on them? So yeah, if you tap, then it will just stay in place. That's the default behavior. Whoa, why did it do that? Oh, it's colliding with eating breakfast at 3:40 p.m. You know, it sometimes is like that. Do be like that. Apparently the way back it's using a different pathfinding code because it's doing that. Interesting. Yeah, I can hover, or if you press and hold, it will do the range attack. So you can access both features. It's actually, if you're pressing the button a second time when it's before it reaches the range, basically. The hover spot, it'll hover. And I like to avoid press and hold features, but this feels pretty natural to make it go further, just hold the button. And it's not a long hold. You just have to get past the, oh, wait a second. Wait. Oh. If you press and hold, you can release to let it stop at any point. So I can make it hover there. That's technically a bug. Oh, by the way, hold on a second. What? Webcam? Oh. I was gonna have the webcam today, but I don't know. Webcam. Yeah, maybe like a good bug. My reason for... Oh, hello, here I am in full-fledged form. Let me just... Wait. Crop. And then... Yeah, I don't know where my old webcam went. Wait, how old hold first? There we go. And 2... Face reveal. Yeah, look at this. First face reveal ever of Cloaked Games. Cloaked. No, the real reveal here is my new purple shirt, which is a protest shirt. I've shrunk. I know. Everything you see on stream accurately represents my real life. That feels about right. Yeah, this bug with the boomerang. I do think the reason that I wanted the features to be separate is twofold. I don't want it to be hard to get the boomerang to hover in the right place. Thank you, thank you. I don't want it to be hard to get the boomerang to hover in the right place for puzzles. Kind of like in the last Librarian, like the boomerang always hovered at just the distance past one gap, which I think is handy for making the puzzles a little bit easier to execute, you know? Man, there's a camera jitter that I'm seeing, and I don't know if it could just be the bad scan lines on this particular monitor. Oh, you're working on some music? Nice, Casmon. I've been doing a little bit more of that lately, trying to get some stuff for Arcanaclysm and making progress, but nothing to post yet. What kind of music are you writing? But also, it is kind of cool to think that you could press and hold and then let go at any point to put it at any distance. So maybe I want to make that a optional feature or an advanced feature for a different kind of boomerang. An even more flexible boomerang weapon that you have to unlock. I don't like the webcam positioning yet, but maybe just do that. Drum and bass. Ah, yes. I think you shared some of those with me before. I also want to add the little fade away, like dissolve border that I used to have, but it broke when I don't remember how I broke it. I broke it because I redrew the dissolve border that I used in the thumbnails, and then it turned out that was the same one I was using for the webcam. So I have to fix it. Oh, it's nighttime. Yeah. So with that comment, so Luna's saying you don't know how intuitive it is to hold the button to be moving the boomerang further, because you think holding it would keep it in place. That is, I partially agree, and that's how I did it in the last Librarian. It may be a little bit less intuitive, but the reason I want to do it this way, to just tap to keep it in place, is so that when you are doing long time puzzles, like in the last Librarian, sometimes you'd have to hold it in place. Then you have to hold down the button for a really long time while you're maneuvering to another place, and if your finger slips, you let go of the boomerang and it comes back. So this is the more long-term behavior of the boomerang, and so I think it should have the easier input mode. And that's like a little bit of theory, and we'll have to do some playtesting to see if people can get used to that idea. But you can always just tap it twice if you want it to come back right away as well. Yeah, that's my reasoning for it and the way I implemented it. It would be easy to change it if either playtesting reveals that I was wrong, I could be wrong, or just if I want to add a gameplay option to switch tap and hold actions for items, I could implement that as well, and then players who prefer to be able to hold the boomerang in place by holding the button would be able to do it that way. But yeah, let's actually pull out the wheel and see what we're working on today, because that is the extent of what I have to share. A lot of whatever else I've been doing is writing, which I don't tend to share. Oh no. Once again, forgot to save that. I assume there'll be a little tutorial about it where it tells you about that. Yes, all the ways of using the item will be explained when you get the item. And probably I'll have to add, in the inventory as well. Actually, that does give me a thought. I realized that for Arcanaclysm, because I have built an item system. Before we spin the wheel, let me talk about this idea that you just gave to me. No more terrain, groundless, floating on air. Yeah, I just don't really know what that option was supposed to mean. So, as always, if anybody has other ideas for what could go on the wheel, send them in the Discord and I'll update the wheel at some point. What I did for using items, besides equipping them like this, right? In Arcanaclysm, to transmute, for instance, you can see here, and this isn't fully UI'd out yet, like I want to indicate it better, but you actually get this little menu that shows you which ability actions you can do with an item. And the only things right now is transmutation, so I can transmute to make this into the fundamental X. But you can see this little menu down here. That means I can add to this menu as well a tutorial option that would pop up that instruction text box for how to use the item. Again, anytime you want to look at something in your inventory. Be like, oh, how do I use the range boomerang? Click, check the tutorial option. It will give you a pop-up box explaining it. Maybe even a picture if I feel like it. There's always a tension because I do want to tutorialize things as much as possible so that nobody's confused. But it is a lot of game development time. And for a AAA studio, 0 questions. You should be putting tutorials into your game more than you do. And they should be easily skippable because not everybody wants them. For an indie team, I'm not even a team, I'm one guy. It's like, to what extent does adding advanced tutorial options even benefit the game when my player base is so small already? But basic things like how to tap to keep it in place or hold to make it do a long throw are obvious. And those will be part of the inventory system, I think. In addition to when you first get the item. Sorry, I just hated that specific tree. Okay, here we go. Spin the wheel. Let us go. Broom. With little aplomb. Oh. I don't like that sound still. I regret. You like the noise? Okay. Well, glad you like it. We have an enemy. Let me put this back so I don't lose it. Just in time for the wheel. Hello, Avensky. The wheel said, make an enemy. And I have a few ideas for that because I actually have... the tree topic one. Yes, I like that sound. Webcam 2? Why does it have an audio? Hide. Don't need that. Let's see, where'd my text go? Boom. Properties. Wheel says, make an enemy. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of brainstorming with the stream chat and all, in case you guys have ideas. I do have one that's on my to-do list that we can do. Let me open a notepad. Boom, notepad. I wish I could... I hate this. We talked about this before. You know what? You guys are just gonna have to squint. I'm not changing the font size. Enemies. We got lots of ideas. I'll start with the ones Notepad++. That's a good point. Oh, god dang it. We'll look at some GameMaker code. Some JSON files. Scribble configs. Now I have to find out how to do... One moment. Oh, you just control zoom. Incredibly nice. I love Notepad++. Enemies. I should get a markdown editor for this too. Oh, scribble configs. I don't even need to save it. Yeah, just control zoom. How great. Let's see. So there's one thing. Let me open up my Trello board and see if there were any other ideas I already had. And then if anyone has ideas, feel free to pitch them in the chat. Wait, Arcanaclysm, tab group. Holy cow. Just opened so many tabs, you wouldn't believe it. I probably would. So many tabs to me is still less than most people. I'm very clean with my tabs. That's the items thing. I can close the systems dock. That's good enough. Have to love sound design? Yeah, it's fun. I'm just... I believe I have over 100 tabs. Yeah, exactly. The trees that are like the grass in TLL. Yes. For sure. A tree or even just the grass, I mean. Excellent suggestion, and it would fit into the design, and it would continue the legacy of plant enemies coming alive and chasing you. There is the grass enemy in Daughter of Dreams as well. And I would like to do a tree-based one at some point, because it makes sense for a character that was given an axe to have a tree enemy to fight. I'm just nervous about the amount of animation I'd have to do for that. And I'd rather save it for when I have like 1 or 2 more biomes and make them a scarier enemy for the later game. Do you have a list of already created items as a refresher or enemies? So the ones we have right now, there's only 2 current enemies. Yeah. We have the plain globber slime, and we have the basalt, and we'll look at both of them in a second. Okay, hold on. There we go, saved. The basalt is a rock shell monster. And then the other thing I want to do, let me check, because I need a few more enemies. I would like to make a specter spirit enemy, some kind of ghost, because we're going to go into a spooky area in the second half of chapter 1. That's a big reveal. And then I want a crystal basalt. That's kind of like a mini boss, where it's one of these guys, but it has crystals stuck in it. And its shell takes multiple hits to break. Any type of mimics, yes. I 100% want to do mimics. And welcome in, Repix. The problem with doing mimics now is I don't yet have treasure chests, which would be the classic mimic, but I do want to have the mimic enemy be able to be kind of lots of different objects, and then become, like, when it attacks you, it reveals itself. So we could make the mimic now and give it like a base form, and then give it the ability to copy the properties from various objects, like trees. And then I could just put it into the proc gen with a really rare chance of spawning, and it could copy the appearance of anything in the room. That's very appealing. Or not necessarily any sprite, but the mimics could have a list of things they could copy from. Let me see, like if we did, like this list would be a pretty good starting point, so that a mimic could become a bush or a tree or a boulder or a stump, and it could even copy the damaging properties of it. The soot sprite-esque enemy that kept doubling. That was in Daughter of Dreams, but yes, that was called a grime, I think. And those guys, Ditto or Kirby? Yes. Those guys are kind of based off of fuzzies from Mario. These buggers. Yeah, Daughter of Dreams. Yeah, that would work. I don't know. I'm not as confident about the doubling as a mechanic in the real-time combat system. Part of the reason I think it worked okay in Daughter of Dreams is that they double, they're next to each other, and then you get this AoE hit to hit them both. So actually, as annoying as they are, enemies in Daughter of Dreams splitting is a buff to the player as long as they don't gain total HP because of how much AoE you had access to. That was part of my intention behind them. I think they would be far more like genuinely obnoxious in this game, but it would be worth prototyping that. Any fuzzles or shit makes me think of Soot Sprites. Yeah. I'm excited about the idea of a mimic, and I 100% want to do that eventually. I just have to decide whether I want to do that as a wheel stream. Because I don't think I think that will take more design and thinking it through than I have time to do on live stream. But I'm willing to give it a try if people are most excited about that option. Because all the other, like, the Crystal Basalt is just an enemy variation. I'd have to make some changes to how the shell code works. I don't think it would be as exciting as a full new thing. Let me check. Do I have... Where's my Trello board? It doesn't have any comments about enemies. I just forgot to list it. Well... Let me try to remember if there were any other... oh yes, Casmon. Let's see, Slimes, Undead. Yeah, so Undead, let's make a category for that, which includes these things. Here, I'll actually... Because there is going to be Undead in this game. We can have skeletons, whites, you know, whatever kind of stuff we want. Imps and demons. I don't know. I have trouble with imps and demons because they have a lore implication in my mind. Like, as weird as this seems, the existence of imps and demons kind of implies the existence of hell, which I don't think exists in my game world. So it would have to be some kind of like cosmic or alien thing. So more like an Eidolon, which would be a thing for my lore, or Final Fantasy XIV has these things called Void Scent. It might be just Final Fantasy broadly, but I don't know about it. That are like from a parallel dimension. And then you say, oh yeah, elementals. Spectre could be a fun elemental idea. Yes, and in fact, in the last Librarian, the Spectres had elemental variants as well. And I like that, especially once I have status effects, because it's a great way to make a class of enemy that has lots of variation that I can implement quickly. So we would have, yeah, imps and demons could be from another world. I'll get to the bees in a second. Trying to address all the comments. Elementals also would give us the idea of wizards, which in the first two games have been called Zards. I have better lore for them now. And I will want to add those two, but I think these are kind of more, again, more endgame enemies. And then bees, 100%. You're completely right. Not the bees. Honey is amazing, yes. Bees defending a hive. And those are also have a precedent in the last Librarian. There's the giant beehive that I think with new design. Ooh. With new design, the bees could be less obnoxious. I'm a little more skilled as a designer now. And the way it worked in the last Librarian, like the beehive was like one material and then it would spawn the bees. This game, of course, you have an axe, which means breaking apart a beehive makes a lot of sense to me. And so the beehive could take increased damage from the axe, giving you a reason to use that weapon over another weapon, which is something I'm always looking for in this game where you have so many different weapons. Right now there's only 3, but among those 3 even, there's like 6 or 7 different damage types you have access to. And I'm trying to make it so that there's a reason to prefer one side grade over another side grade when you're getting new items. And yeah, we've got plenty of plants and flowers. They could be small bees or they could be big bees. Huge bees. Small or giant. Yeah, an axe from the inventory showcase what made me think of the hive. Yes. Yeah, for sure. And that's part of why this enemy here, the basalt, the rock enemy, let me just run the game. We can talk about that too. Was implemented as I was trying to think about what kind of enemy would be weak against using a hammer, which is the other melee weapon that Drifter has access to. So we can go look at those. Zerg-like enemies that come from the void and eat all knowledge. I love eating all knowledge. Very tasty. Wait, hold on. This whole time my text was off center. There we go. So here's a slime, Globber. It's kind of stuck in the corner. And on one of the previous wheel streams, we added this little slime puddle, which you can see sucks you in. Ow. Kill it. And then down here we'll meet the basalts. These guys, they charge at you. Little crab guys. They're kind of like there's the enemies under rocks in Link to the Past. And if you smash them with a hammer, they get stunned for a moment, and then they lose their shell and they just run away. But you can attack them with the axe. It just takes a lot longer. Oh, nope. They also smash from that. That's a bug. I've been changing the weapon collision, and that's a bug. So yeah, the fastest way is to just hammer, axe. And if you have a stronger upgraded one, it would be good. But that's why I want to make a stronger variant of that enemy, where the weakness to the hammer does have to be utilized by the player in order to do sufficient damage. Whereas here, you can just kind of kill it however you want. But it's more like a tutorial to show that enemies have different weaknesses. The simple version of the enemy. Yeah, so that's the only 2 enemies that are in the game right now. And this is an excellent list. This one for sure I'm going to save and stick into my brainstorming document later. Enemy that teleports themselves or the player. That is something, let's see, teleports. Let me not forget that. The Zard type enemies in the last Librarian did that. So I think that's what I'm going to do for those. They're the little guys, they like kind of Wololo style, like they teleport somewhere and then they cast magic at you, and when you attack them, they teleport, which is as a way to kind of mitigate how fast you can do damage and prioritize big single target hits. Especially ranged attacks, because you can hit them more frequently if you can hit them right after they teleport instead of having to run up to them, which would be good for the boomerang. I think, just because of how much fun it would be, I think Mimics is what I want to do today. At least a prototype for the Mimics. Because it's certainly something I want to include. I've been thinking about it for a while. And I think it'll just be the most exciting and funny to make it work today. Or if I can't finish it today, then it'll be a surprise, a pleasant surprise for whoever gets to play the game again. Oh, a forest enemy, yes. Mushrooms, let me put that with the tree and grass enemy. Mushroom, spore. Yes, and there's also I have a few enemies in previous games based on that as well. I like the slow idea. That's something that needs status effects as well, for sure. Lovely suggestion. And I like this because it also gives us we can just add mushrooms to the forest in general and have some of those be monster type mushrooms. But then you can have some like rare nighttime glowing mushrooms that you can harvest to turn into food and things like that, and give patches of the world a different kind of thing. Yeah, like a tree enemy here. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because in my mind, because of Lord of the Rings, treants are like sentient friendly creatures, so it's like, don't know if I want to fight that, but could go in the direction of a more animalistic treant kind of thing. But let's do mimics today, just because I think it will be. Never played any WoW? No, I have not. Making mimics. Mimics feel just like one of those tropes that never die. It's a classic. Absolutely. Challenge record mechanic. Yes, I like that, because you always get a prize from a mimic. RuneScape and Terraria. 2 games I also haven't played too much, but I do agree with what you're talking about. Absolutely. Thinking about like Dark Souls mimics and how it trains the player to hit every chest with their sword, and it's just the mimics in the last Librarian were such a delight. Especially how my favorite mimic that I ever added to any game that I've made is, so in the regular last Librarian game, there was a chest in the first room that has like an apple in it. And I turned that one into a mimic in the hard mode of the game. So the very first treasure in the game is a mimic in the hard mode of the game. And I have gotten angry screenshots of death messages within 30 seconds of starting their hard mode run from 1 or 2 players. And you know what? That's just absolutely impeccable. Perfectly satisfying. WoW treants had one funny death animation where I got sliced, and then they looked, oh my gosh, look around confused, falling off the stumps, kind of like a Looney Tunes character running off an edge. Treants could be guardians, or enemies neutral or friendly. That would be good. I think there's definitely, I want to have some talking trees, because we had some in the last Librarian as well. And I think talking to plants is always a fun idea. But let's go with frickin' paint. I don't need paint 3D. I need a sprite, and I need a big canvas today, because I want to draw. If I prepared ahead, I would have gotten my Wacom tablet out for this, but okay. We're gonna actually do some like drawing design with wait, where's my, oh, there you go. Okay. So here's what I'm imagining. Some mimics are obviously treasure chests. Oop. I should have got my Wacom tablet. It's fine. And these treasure chests. And these guys could, like, just like in the last Librarian, I'm gonna actually use this color. Open up and have teeth. Classic. This is just a classic mimic, but I want to have a more creative version of the mimic. Oh my gosh, it kind of looks like a hamburger. And these guys are going to have way too many freaky pointy teeth. And maybe even a red maw. And horrible eyes. Yes, yes, yes. This is... He's kind of cute. That's amazing. But I can't help but think about how this does look like a hamburger. You know, we just add a little bit of lettuce. And that's tomato and ketchup. Some sesame seeds. Cuteness overload in less than 30 seconds. That's what game design is all about, y'all. Finding faces and things. Okay, but we'll stay with our very serious, very scary mimic. Here, I'll make him scarier. There we go. Make a spell that's called Talk to Plants. Okay, listen, I'm gonna add that to the notes because that would be funny, but that's some Baldur's Gate stuff and not within the scope of what I can do. But there will be room to add spells. Like there's gonna be like a spell book that you can unlock spells for at some point. Make them scarier, add pickles. You're not a fan? Here's some pickles. Hold on there. Wow. And then the pickles kind of have like little seeds. But I love the idea of a Talk to Plant spell working on lots of plants and not just like specific NPCs. But I think it would have to be something like each type of plant has one line of dialogue that they say. Let's see. 5, 6. Okay, so this is the classic mimic. It's a treasure chest mimic, and it just eats you. In Daughter of Dreams, I had this treasure chest mimic that it had an ability where it would copy something. So if we had like a slime, the mimic would be like, hey, I want that, and then it would become the slime, right? Definitely not a McDonald's burger. It has more than 1 to 2 pickles. Yeah, we have nothing but high quality pixel art burgers on this stream. Yeah, make a list of lines for the plants. Yeah, something like that's how I would implement it. The problem is just the limitation of how much dialogue I can realistically write. But I definitely want to hold on to that idea because that would be really fun. So this design, like the evil chest mimic can see another enemy and be like, "Swoop, I want to be that," and then it inherits the attack behavior and the stats. Some of the stats, like the stats of the enemy that it copies, that are better than the current mimic stats. So in Daughter of Dreams, that's how it worked, and it could do it during battle. And I was eventually going to make it so the mimic could copy the player as well. And it would get all of its abilities as well as an ability to copy while retaining its ability to copy and retaining its ability to return to its original state. But again, that's one of those things that, like the Grimes, was built for turn-based combat. Good luck with that, Rubix. And like the Grimes, I think in a real-time combat scenario, you're not necessarily going to fight the mimic for long enough for it to make sense for it to be able to like actively copy it. So I think the more logical thing here is just to say, expand the horizon of what it can do here. So it can also be a tree, you know. It can be a tree. It could be a slime. And I think the way maybe this would work, oops, I should have done that background layer. Well, too late now. Yeah, I want more sunlight. I need more. Don't step on me. Prey 2016 was designed with anything the aliens can do, the player is allowed to do as well. So for the mimics, you could become a cup of coffee or a turret and shoot. That is pretty cool. Yeah, very flexible. So I think with this idea here, we'd be saying that it would like start as a slime and it would be behaving like a slime. And then maybe when you killed it, it would actually be a mimic and it would turn into this angry chest monster. Or I'm thinking about maybe instead of it being a chest, like it can already be a chest monster here, right? This is a chest mimic. It has some other form that's like a monster, a spirit monster or something. So let's see. There we go. So it's got like a spirit mimic or ghost mimic. Thought of that. Elves accidentally hit a tree to spawn an angry wood elf. Play to drop items with their ranged items. Yeah. Let me add that to the list. It's on my second monitor now. Especially once there's a bow in the game, that makes some sense. Oh, that's weird. So in this case, it'd be like the mimic would actually be a spirit kind of thing. And then maybe when you killed the mimic form of it, it would become this spirit. Ooh, hold on. Wait, okay. With this idea, the mimic becomes a spectral undead creature. And it's actually a poltergeist. Like, this version of the mimic is a poltergeist. And it's a little spirit wisp thing that goes into something. And then it can move around as that object with those properties. And when that object is broken, the poltergeist pops out, is stunned for a moment, and then if you don't kill it in that poltergeist form, it goes in and inhabits something else. Which could include enemies. Like, it could go in and out of a slime, and it would give like an attack buff to whatever it's inhabiting. So not quite the same as a regular mimic idea. You know, like, it's not a creature disguised as something, but it's a creature that becomes anything that it could be. Mimic is a slime that transforms into what it eats. Yeah. Kind of that idea too. I like the ghost thing because specifically, like, for one mechanical reason, possesses. Yes. Did I stumble on that word? I can't remember. I like the ghost idea because there's whole mechanics for doing increased damage to spectral undead enemies in this game that I have not yet used. So this actually crosses two design goals off my list. And there could be some unique animations for stuff, right? So we start with this basic mimic. And then for every kind of thing that it can possess, if it's an enemy, it just behaves like that enemy. If it's certain inanimate objects, we can make a custom enemy that is that. So this is a chest mimic, and this is a poltergeist, right? Yeah, and then you can have a talking sword with a friendly mimic. So yeah, I think let's prototype that since it's a stream. Let me put that on the second monitor. Oh my gosh. And I like that even being purple too. But we're gonna make placeholder sprites and everything. I'm gonna do the details later. And I might even rename it because it is a mimic, like in the public consciousness. But I think for lore reasons, because I actually think almost we're talking about two different enemies here. I think this guy, this is a mimic. This is something greater than a mimic, right? So we can make a chest enemy that is disguised as a chest, and that's just a mimic, a normal mimic. And then this is like a spirit mimic, and it could happen to infest or possess a chest mimic. But I'll think about the lore later. That's something I like to do privately so I can consult my lore documents without spoiling anything. And for now, let's just see if we can make something that can possess other objects. Exactly, evolution of a mimic. It's like a Pokemon. Okay, so let's create a placeholder sprite. I'm gonna call it Mimic for now, and I'll rename it later when I decide. And we're gonna just take a purplish color. And here's my trick for making little flames. Probably enough. I want that a little bit slower. Interesting. Okay, and then you cycle through. Not happy with that, but that's the idea. I'm gonna make it a little faster actually. Back to 20. Okay, one more try. Then I'm giving up and just doing it later. Yeah. It's kind of a bubbling mess. A roiling blob. Okay, that'll work for now. That's just a placeholder after all. We're gonna make its parent enemy. This is gonna take a little bit of thinking. Just because, Ben, I've only made 2 enemies. And this is not a simple one. Okay, so let's start with a targets list so that it's restricted for now. And we will make it let's start with enemies because they already have AI, right? I'd like to be able to have it possess a tree and, you know, move the tree around, but I think actually it's easier to make them possess enemies. I like this design as well for this poltergeist thing because it creates an interaction between this enemy and other enemies in the area, right? Like it's gonna hop on and buff the globber and make it like a little mini boss fight, and then when it pops out, you have to kill it with a spirit killing weapon, right? There could be an alternate way to kill it as well. If I decided to make it transparent or like intangible except to spirit killing weapons, which is an option, then just killing its host some number of times would also kill the mimic. Or killing all the enemies in the room. The mimic would flee, right? Which makes this kind of like, it's like a thing I can throw in to make something that's a whole encounter a little bit more exciting. So let's start with just these targets being our 2 enemies. Oh, hold on, event inherited. Get our stats in place. Max HP, we'll make it a little stronger for now. Magic items do full damage and magic attacks do half damage. Yeah, well, I'll decide on the properties eventually. There's already an attribute system. I'd have to fit into that. Let me look at it actually. Here we go. It's still a little bit of a work in progress. Here's the attributes table. Let me think. I think this is going to be a spectral enemy. So dark weapons and soulfire weapons would be stronger against it. And there are some of both of those in the game already. It could also be spectral dark, but that would be counterintuitive, so I don't think so. Yeah, so it's basically just a spectral enemy. At least initially. Not being spectral. Yeah. It's just one attribute. Did I forget anything? Examine spectral. Yep, that's it. Doesn't need that. Doesn't need that. I think it's gonna be a little slower than a globber even. Or maybe it's faster. We'll see. We'll play it out and see. Well, I think there's a bird that just flew by my window really close. Possess targets. Is possessing. Mimic. Here we go. We'll lock that, I think. Actually, we're gonna make it. That. Okay, so now we have the step event, and I want to basically say if current target I don't actually need is possessing because there being no target. Whether the target exists is whether or not it's being. Could do something with being invulnerable when a specific distance. Yeah, for ranged attacks. Its base form is a little slower than the player, but the thing in it, the enemy that it possesses, is slower. Well, yeah, I guess it does. So it needs that brings to mind the fact that it needs to be able to catch enemies. So maybe even it can teleport. We have it when it first gets defeated, it flees away from the player while it's building energy, and then it blinks and it teleports into an enemy somewhere in the field. So you can lose track of it. And then when the room loads, the mimic immediately goes into something. Yeah, mess around with invisibility and appearing from different angles. That kind of idea. I think I like it teleporting for that, but we'll get to that. I just want to see for now if it can, catch something and possess it. Ooh. Okay, sorry. I have to. This has to be treated like game jam code. I will clean it up later. I do actually need possessing. Which is false. I do need this variable because I want to choose a target and stick to it. Talk to you later. Gotta go making sense for a song. Good luck. Have fun. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so we're gonna do this because I like to have the positive one first if it makes sense. Searching for new possession. So then we say if current target. So here we find the target. And then we need to randomize this. That's fine, we'll do this. Just a little bit readable, more readable that way. Even if it's a little verbose, but I think I'm gonna prefer that later. Viable targets. Yep, so this will pick one of those two enemies randomly. Right now it'll just pick Lobber or a Basalt. And then it will set its nearest target to the nearest version of that. And this guy can fly, obviously. That would, having to make a pathfind across the map would be frustrating. So then it's set as current target. That's just searching for a new target. Reaching target. And then here we say, is this my step direction or is this Game Maker's step direction? Is my step direction. Good. Wait. CG movement. Huh. And again, I'm going to be a little bit verbose in here just so that I can read the code later. And I can make changes to it if I want. And this does have to be updated every frame because the position of its target can change. Okay, and then here's where we say is possessing equals true. He's passing. Okay, and those are just comments so that I remember when I'm cleaning up later what I want to change. This is the most important thing that I want to change the possession to a method over here, or even an event, so that I can make variations. I could even add call an event on the possessee that says, hey, you've been possessed. And then anything else I write, in any other enemy I could add or object that could be possessed, I could add custom code that would change its behavior when it gets possessed by a mimic, which is just the beauty of a custom event system and a custom component system. Like you can imagine I could be like current target dot call events, what is ECS? I got possessed, right? And then this could mean, this is just a blank method basically. And on any other object, I could be like, yeah, when you're possessed by a mimic, I also want you to make this custom sound, or spawn this object, or fully heal, or stuff like that. But for now, we're just gonna write it all straight in here. What happens? Well, let's first deal with just the mimic going into the enemy and then coming back out when the enemy dies. I would like I'm gonna change it to that. In fact, I'm gonna change it to that. I'm just tired of typing. I'll rename all this stuff later. First of all, if not instance exists possessed, which is to say it died, then we're gonna set this back post. Oh my gosh. Then we just reset that cycle. And later this will be stun and run away for some amount of time, and then that timer will set it back to the possessed searching. Excuse me. Let's see. Otherwise, we just attach it to and this, by the way, in a second, I'm gonna this I do this kind of thing a lot, and I wonder whether I can, using my component system, I can probably make it possible for me to just tell anything to be attached to anything. But I'm going to ponder that. For now, I'm just going to implement it manually again. In fact, it might already be, I think the particle system I wrote already does that, but that might be for my freelance project. That's why I'm thinking about it, though. I hadn't thought about it before because I hadn't done it yet for my freelance project. So here we say if is possessing. Even this isn't necessary because if it doesn't exist, it won't be possessing. Because the step is going to happen before the end step. So that's safe. I don't have to have that extra check on that. Completely safe. And this will just mean it's copying its position. This is when it gets released. This is when it gets captured. I do want to methodize that. Okay, so if I delete these, I don't need these either. If I put one of these guys and then a few mid globbers, should go to the nearest one, and then and it should follow it around. In fact, hold on, let me fix one bug ahead of time. It should follow them around, and then when I kill it, it should go to the next one. That's all we're looking for. It doesn't do any buffs. It doesn't vanish or run away. It doesn't teleport yet. All we're looking to see is whether it can track itself to an enemy and attach it to it. Oh. I'm sorry. Look at that. It's giving it a hug. It can't overlap because it's bumping into it. Let me just fix a bug ahead of time. AAA developers don't like this one trick. Hey man, their games are more complicated. But they also have more budget, so. Okay, well, there's a couple things we can do for that. Shoot, what do we do that? I know there's a function to do that, but I forget how to do it correctly. Because it's a, yeah, and way more people, exactly. Components, entity. I think this is where we're doing aha. Okay. It's a lot of bespoke game maker code, and these systems have only been in place for like, well, okay, these systems have been in place for a year, and I wrote them all, but I haven't been using them for a year because I've been writing systems. So these wheel streams really testing my memory of something I wrote a year and a half ago. But this is what I do. I just remove that component, and the mimic will stop trying to This should prevent it from, it should be able to overlap with other entities. There we go. I think, well, that doesn't look right to me. I wonder what my movement code is doing here. I think this might be wrong. Also, I have step towards point. What am I doing? Okay, first let's change it to step towards point and see if that works, and then speed, and it's going to be possessed.x, possessed.y, and then I can remove this extra line. Let's just see if that fixes it, because it might. And then is possessing is true. Hey, CG. That's what you said to me. Hey, Tenebro. Made you a little sooner? That's all right. Thanks for coming by. Oh, what's going on here? What? Did I spell it wrong? No. It says -4. So okay, so just for safety, I am gonna do this, but I'm not sure why that crash happened. Join when the meet started? If you like coding, yes. Okay, that's not correct. It should, hold on. Guys, we have the classic. Yo. Just make sure. I'm pretty sure this is not running. I don't think this is ever returning false. And that's probably because, even though it should. Oh, the slime is still avoiding it, even though the mimic isn't. Of course. Interesting. So this is the reason I'm hesitating is that this is an ideological problem. I can't remove right now. Component entity avoid has one entity always avoid other entities. I can make it so that this entity doesn't do that, but the globber is avoiding the mimic. That's what's happening here. So I probably need to allow the entity avoidance to have a variable that allows some entities to be ignored by entity avoidance. That's the correct way to do that. That will complicate it, but I can do that. The other option, I think, is just have it so that when it gets close enough, it does the possession, which is what I think I'm going to do for now. And think about entity avoidance in the future. So I'm going to add to do way to mark entity as ignored by other avoidance, so that this thing can pass through other entities, which should normally not be the desired behavior, but let me look at the components one more time. Yeah, see, this is the problem here. Instance place entity, and that applies to all entities, and I should probably do some filtering to say, does this entity actually want to be avoided? Wait, off topic, can I get a Charlotte t-shirt? Yes, in a moment. I'm going to take a bio break, actually, right about now. I will stand up and you can see the shirt. Can I stand up in a way that does that? All right. Camera. Wait. What happened to my camera? Well, okay. I don't know what is on the main one, but here's the shirt. And I will be right back. This is one of my new protest shirts. Starting soon. Oh no! What is going on over here? There, okay. I'll be back in a moment. I have returned, and I don't know why my webcam isn't working there, but it was a little chilly, so now I have a jacket as well. And I thought of a possible name. Thank you. Hello, Luna again. Let me just do a bit of etymology checking. Okay, so we've got Geist, or relating to ghost. This is where we also get Zeitgeist, the spirit of a group or individual. So it's just a pretty generic term for ghost or spirit. Or we'll say, what is a poltergeist? Okay, so physical disturbances. And then a mimic. I wonder if... Aha, here we go. This kind of thing. An animal or plant that exhibits mimicry. So what about a mimic geist instead of a poltergeist? Yes. Oh, interesting. Apparently in Phasmophobia, they do have a mimic that is a ghost as well, which makes perfect sense. They're usually just called mimics or mimic. Like there's some people talking about a mimic ghost. So I'm maybe a little different. I call it a Mimic Geist. And then we have room for classic mimics and other types of mimics. So let's actually set that to the mimic. Mimic Geist. Two words or one word? Normally I prefer one word for these kinds of words that I'm making up, but I think because the C next to the G is just kind of awkward, I'm gonna do that. They do, it's annoying. Phasmophobia. You don't know what it is. I've not played that game, but I've seen some videos about it. I don't like horror, even light horror. Jump scares, not fun to me. Though I could get into it maybe if I played more games like that. But oh boy, is it fun to watch. So I need to do that later. For now, I'm just gonna do this. Gosh dang it. This is a hard word. We will just step towards point, and then if distance is less than or equal to 12-ish. Wait, 12-ish? 8. 8 should be good. Then it will do the possession. What? Interesting. It kind of clipped through the walls, I think. So now if we... What was that? Particle effect. Hello? Oh, it's me hitting them. That must be the mimic's attack particles. Well, so that's one thing. It should become invulnerable once it's possessed, so that you aren't hitting it. Okay. I don't know what's up with those particle effects. Wait. Well, it died. Look at that. Ooh. Don't like the number of bugs we just found. Is this? Oh. Yeah. Okay, I need to, those are just fully out of date. Let me go back and actually. Ah, shoot. Just gonna tediously disable these. The reason I'm not just deleting it is I don't know if I have a copy of this set of code anywhere other than here, so. And I don't know if I'm using any of these functions. So I'm gonna comment them all out and then apparently some attempt at making a vector library. I don't remember any of this. I think this was for my freelance project actually. And I don't think it's being used anymore. Let's see if this crashes. Oh, that's gonna crash. Hold on. Geist. Riveting content of me just commenting out code. Okay, so now the Mimic Geist just doesn't do anything. That's fine. It does have impact damage. Can I disable impact damage? I don't even mind it. Maybe it does need to do impact damage. It should probably have a smaller hitbox though. I think the hitbox is a little bit insane. Actually, I take that back. I'm gonna do that later. I will leave a comment here though. Good look at always, bud. Thanks for dropping by, Repix. And yeah, I will try to post a video about the Mimic. I have not been as good with the little small updates. Just been busy streaming and busy doing real life things. But yeah, thanks for coming by and enjoy your company. Let's see. What is this part? This is what I'm doing next. My brain is starting to slow down, y'all. Some people, you know, they stream for like 4, 6, 8 hours. I can do that if I'm collabing, like I did with the Randomizer stream the other day, or a few months ago, but... oh boy, no, I get tired. I do this just to share updates and be a little bit motivated to be focused for a bit, but I need a break pretty soon. Oh no. Oh! I'm so stuck. I think that the slime puddles probably should not stack. Also, well. Ha! Oh! This takes practice and getting in the zone. That's fair. I mean, yeah, if I did it more often, it wouldn't maybe be as tiring, but it's kind of like tangentially related to socializing for me, so not something I like to do all day anyways. This is because it's sliding back because of the collision code again. So I do need to do this to make this work at all. I did think of an idea though. So you know how the Mimic Geist can pass through walls, of course, it's a spectral thing. What if the buff it gave to enemies is that they could also wall hack? I'm thinking about, there's a lot of trouble with that from an implementation standpoint, but the idea that you can have like a little box of slimes and then the mimic would go in and then pull them out by letting them clip through walls, become semi-transparent, you know? This is becoming like a full-on mini boss kind of enemy. I think this is Low Roll Castle from Link Between Worlds. Transparent / intangible. So then this gives me the idea that if the Mimic Geist is typically intangible, and then it possesses a thing, that thing can become intangible but not permanently, like it becomes intangible when it hits walls, for instance, to let it leap through walls to attack you, or like, dive through. And then it becomes tangible again when you break it out of the host, and you get a few moments to kill it in that moment. Interesting. I'll have to think about that more off stream because the collision code is hella complicated, not gonna lie, and not super clean yet. So I'll have to figure out what I want to do for that. But I do like that idea, possibly. This is Mario Galaxy, right? Rosalina's theme. We can rename that possessed to host because I realized the real word. And yeah, I'd say it's been 90 minutes. We have a design, we have a prototype. The Mimic can attach and then break free. What happens here and what happens here for when it attaches and detaches, I'm gonna have to spend some time thinking about in the design. Like that's gonna have to marinate for a few days. So I think I'm gonna call the stream here, also just because I'm tired and it's been a really long week. And that will let me think about how I want to make the Mimic Geist really work in practice, and finish working it out and polishing it and be able to post an update about the Mimic Geist when it's in a state that I feel like fits into the design really well. So yeah, that's the plan. And yeah, so thanks everybody for watching. I don't know if there will be streams the next 2 weeks because I am traveling home. I will again try to post video updates instead. However, the last time I said that I didn't, so we'll see. It's just been a busy time in my life for me. Thanks for streaming. Yes, absolutely. Thanks for coming by. And oh, you know what? We'll try to do a little bit of a plug for the outro for anyone that isn't. You can find my games and my Discord server and my Blue Sky in the description below. And then you can get more frequent updates on the development. And whenever there's playable prototypes and demos, those will be posted too, though nothing is currently on the horizon. Thanks for coming, Tenebros, and everybody have a good afternoon or good day, wherever you are.